Welcome to Issues and Insights. I'm George Pennington, your occasional host here. And today we have Professor Scott Turner with us. And Scott, we've done this once before, haven't we?
Yes.
I believe we have.
Yep.
Of course, I don't remember any of it, so you're going to have to help me. Scott, your position with Habitat for Humanity, what is your position?
I'm CEO.
The CEO, the director.
It's kind of a jack of all trades
and
there.
Chief Lawnmower.
Right, yeah.
Chief Lawnmower, right?
Right, we do a little bit of everything. We got a small staff, so it's whatever's needed for the day.
Okay. If you want, for our viewers, give us a little bit of your background. And you've been in this area for a while, right?
All my life.
Okay, all your life. Well, see, I didn't know that. All I knew, you're from Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah,
for all I knew.
Actually grew up just right down the street from here.
Okay, give the viewers some info.
Okay, so been here lifelong. Basically, I was a lifelong Elizabethtown resident. Worked at.
So where'd you go to high school?
I went to East Hardin.
You're a rebel.
I'm a rebel.
You're a rebel.
I'm a rebel.
You're a rebel. Yes,
so,
you are.
Went to East Hardin. After East Hardin, went to college, and basically the week after college, got a job with one of the local factories here. Worked there about 29 years.
Good gracious.
I was vice president.
But you're only 33.
Exactly. I started young.
How can that be?
I started young.
You're a prodigy.
And so worked there most of my life. And then as business happens, we got bought out.
Gotcha.
And
you were with?
Flint Inc.
Flint Inc., okay.
Right. And we went from a family-owned company to a private equity company bought us. And so I had a lot of factories in the U.S. I was responsible for, and then I also had factories overseas, Brazil and a little bit in Venezuela and
So
Asia.
you traveled a ton?
I traveled a lot, 3 or 4 days a week at least. And
gosh.
It was, it was kind of rough, but I enjoyed it, enjoyed meeting all the people.
Sure.
But then when we got bought out by a private equity company, the business didn't sell. And at that point, I got called up to corporate and got into this huge consolidation program, and I had to close a lot of factories in the U.S. And then my job.
That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. It was, you were the hatchet man or the grim reaper or whatever. And it was a lot of really good employees. They had like I say, it was family owned and loyal. Wow. Loyal employees. It was a family, even in the factories.
Gotcha.
So when I had to close those, that was really hard. And but did that, and once all that was done, then my job ended there. And thought about getting back into the corporate world, but just the Habitat for Humanity job came up. I was called about that.
About what year is this?
That was 2012.
2012.
So
okay.
This actually is
Wow.
my 10th year
Your 10th.
with Habitat.
Okay.
And so I joke with people. I tell my wife after I did the interview, I said, well, she asked me how it went, and I said, well, good news is they want me to start as soon as possible. I said, bad news is we got to sell the house because we went from a corporate job salary to a nonprofit salary. Yeah. But it all worked out. God had his hand in all of it, and we found a place. So I say I'm a lifelong resident of Elizabethtown. We actually, at that point, I moved to Hodgenville.
Gotcha.
So I'm just 15 miles down the road. So still part of, I spend more time in E-Town than I do at home.
Gotcha.
Most of the time. But that's kind of where I got today, and with Habitat, and just love what I'm doing today. It's a calling.
Okay, awesome. Give us an overview of Habitat. I think a lot of people remember it from Jimmy Carter, high profile, but it started before then.
Yes. So two of the misconceptions with Habitat is that, of course, here we started in 1992 here
in Hardin
County.
Okay.
But a couple of the misconceptions, people think that Jimmy Carter started Habitat. He did not start it.
No.
In fact, I actually got to meet him.
Did you?
I was asked to, because of things that we've done here in Hardin County, I was asked to go to a international conference with Habitat in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And Mr. Carter was the keynote speaker there,
Okay.
and I got to meet him. And one of the things, it was funny because, you know, even he said, now this is not a political statement, but he said, I really think that I'm going to be known more for what I've done with Habitat. That's going to be my legacy versus being a
I
president.
think it has been.
And it's,
I think that's.
he
I
has
think
done
it
a
may have
lot.
been.
Yeah, he's really done a lot to promote Habitat. He and his wife, obviously he's getting up there in years now, so not as involved, but he would annually have a Jimmy Carter build somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And in some of the bigger communities, and they might do 10, 15, 20 houses in just a few weeks.
Wow.
It was like a mega build, type, a blitz type
yeah.
thing. But yeah, that's one of the misconceptions. The other misconception, and I hear this even today, if I go out somewhere to speak, I'll hear somebody, they'll tell me, oh yeah, we've heard about Habitat. You guys build those cheap houses and give them away to poor people. And when I think cheap, I think substandard. The homes that we build, I would put it up against any home builder in the state, particularly the county. Not to say anything negative about the other builders, but
standards are standards.
Right.
Yeah.
So Elizabethtown, Hardin County, Kentucky, the whole country has building codes that you have to follow. Well, with Habitat, because of some of the grant work that I do, I have to not only follow, like, let's say Elizabethtown's building codes, but I have to follow their building codes with the grant. So that typically means that we are a couple cycles ahead of local codes. And which one, it's typically building improvements.
Okay.
It's also energy efficiency.
Okay.
And right now, our homes, I have every home tested, and a lot of people will
tested for energy
efficiency.
Okay.
A lot of people will call their local utility company to come in and do an energy audit.
Okay.
Well, what that entails, which it's good, but what it entails typically is that you come in, they check your lighting and they say you need to put LED lights in. They check your, the two biggest things that you have energy hogs is your hot water heater and your dishwasher.
Okay.
And they'll tell you you need to upgrade those and you can save X number of dollars. Well, our energy audit is a full-blown energy audit. We pay for, those are free. We pay for this, and it's fairly expensive. They come in during the build, before we put drywall on. They verify what type and how much insulation we have in the walls in the attic. Then they come in after the home is built. They do check for LED lighting. They check all of our appliances. They check the water heater. They check the furnace, all of that. And then in addition, they call it a blower door. They put this door, they open the front door and they install a door. It's a temporary door. It's got this huge fan on it. It sucks all the air out of the house. What that does is it checks for air leakage around doors, around windows. You can have air leakage around your electrical receptacles.
Okay.
So it pulls air out. And then the other thing they do is they do.
Then if they find deficiencies, you can fix them at that point, or they just.
Sometimes you can, but once the house is built, it kind of is what it is.
Okay.
But the other thing they do is they check the ductwork.
Okay.
They make sure there's no leakage, because if you have ducts leaking, say in the attic or in the crawl space, that means you're heating or cooling your attic or crawl space. So they check all that. And right now, over the past, definitely the last 5 years, we've greatly improved. But in the last couple of years, just through making some changes, the last house that we built, which was, we closed on it in February of this year, and I got a call from the person that owns the company and said, we're getting ready to send you the report, but we wanted to call you first because you're now in the top 5% in the state for energy efficiency.
Wow.
That's of any builder in the state. And what we're kind of proud about that is most of the families that we build for, they all have to be renting. They can't own a home to get a Habitat house.
All right.
So they're renting, and a lot of them are in really substandard homes.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of slumlords.
Okay.
And but them being low income, that's what they can afford. So they may be paying $200 or $300 a month for utilities. Our homes, and this is a 1,200 square foot home,
Okay.
is
that fairly standard?
That's fairly standard for a 3-bedroom.
Okay.
It'll be slightly more. We typically will do, normally it's 2, 3, or 4 bedroom. We're actually building a 5-bedroom right now for a family because of the number of kids.
Yeah.
But generally in these rentals, they're paying $200 or $300 or more a month in utilities. And our utility cost in most of our homes run around $70, $75 a month.
Good gracious.
So that's more money. That's part of us giving an affordable home or providing an affordable home to these families. You know, if it's $200 a month or more now, that's at least, say, $150 a month that they have for clothes, food, furniture, you know, anything that they may have to spend for the children.
Yeah.
So that makes the home even more affordable. The other part of that, you know, I talked about people say we give them away to poor people. Well, I don't consider them poor. I consider them low income. But there is a mortgage on the home.
Right.
So this last home, it appraised for about $170,000.
Good gracious.
We sold it to the family for $80,000. The way we do that is through grants, through donations from people in our community. That helps us offset that cost. And then we take that $80,000 and we divide it over the years their house payment is approximately 25% of their income.
I got you.
That's principal, taxes, and insurance. There's no interest.
Okay.
So they're just paying that. And so that's kind of how we get it affordable for them. It's just but there is a mortgage on it.
So effectively $80,000 mortgage at zero interest.
Yes.
And that covers
right.
taxes and insurance.
Right. And then the principal, we hold the mortgages.
Okay.
So the principal comes back to us. Kentucky Housing Corporation, they service our mortgages for us.
Okay.
So they send us a check.
Are they out of
Frankfort?
Frankfort, okay.
They send us a check every month for all the mortgage payments. Okay. And then that is a part of what we use to build other homes.
Okay.
So between the mortgage payments, between the grants, and between the community donations, that's how we build all the homes that we do.
Okay. So the process, you don't build a home and then find a family. You find a family or qualify a family. How does that work?
Well, most people are familiar with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and all the issues years ago. Yes. So that changed the whole law of mortgage lending.
Okay.
Now, even though we're not 100% the same as a bank, we are considered a bank.
Okay.
So I have to take 14 classes every year on mortgage lending.
Do you really?
I have to take a test on 14 classes. Then I have to take a state test.
Do you really?
So I'm now a qualified loan originator because I handle all of the documents, the legal documents. I handle all their personal information. And so we do that. And the other thing that we do because of the laws, we typically have a waiting list. So if a family calls in and wants to inquire about a home, we take their name and phone number. Okay. We put it on a list, and then every year, once a year, we call everybody on that list, and they have 2 weeks from that date to come in. We do a credit report background check. Okay. And we don't on the credit report, I'm not looking for a score, because if they had a good score, they probably could go conventional. Yeah. I'm looking for delinquencies. Okay. Do they make their payments? And then at that point, that will disqualify some families. And from there, we call all the families that were approved at that standpoint, and they come in and actually fill out an application. Okay. And then from there, right now, we're currently in that process. Okay. Because the final step, which we just finished last night, is we do a home visit. Okay. And we go to where they're currently living, and we do it. There's 2 people on each team, and we go in. We have a list of questions that we ask every family, the same thing. And we get to that point. We go through all the questions with them, and we see what living conditions they're living in. And I tell the families up front, you know, and one of the things we look at too is not just the condition that they're living in, but what are they allowing themselves to live in. You know, it's one thing to be low income, but you don't have to be dirty.
Right.
If I have to step over stuff to get in the front door, or they have to pile stuff off the couch so that we can sit down, chances are the home's going to look like that in 6 months, a new home. So we go through all of that. That's when it really gets hard, because I'll end up with, say, 20 families that all qualify, and I may have 3 single mothers with 2 kids, and there's nothing different in their application. It's and maybe even their living conditions, and that's the part I really don't like, because now I'm telling, we generally pick 3 or 4 families a year.
Gotcha.
So I could, out of 20, I'm only going to pick 3 or 4. So I'm going to tell this family, yes, you're approved, we're going to build a home for you. I'm telling this family, sorry, we just don't have the capacity. And that's what it's really hard doing that. But we also encourage them to go ahead and reapply next year. We've actually
had... So you need to reapply each year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We put them back on the waiting list, and then we'll call them at the next time it opens up. We've actually had a family that there was a lady that she applied 3 years in a row.
Wow.
And the 3rd year, she got accepted.
Oh,
so,
wow.
You know, persistence pays off.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what the family makeup of all the other people are. The other thing, too, kind of going back to the mortgage, you know, I talked about it's a $170,000 home, in this case for a 3-bedroom, with an $80,000 mortgage. The balance of that $90,000, that's a second soft mortgage. We call it a soft mortgage because as long as they stay in the home, we start forgiving part of that mortgage. That incentivizes them to stay in the home. It also keeps them, it protects us, it keeps them from 2 years later selling the house, paying off the $80,000 and walking off with $90,000. Because we want to protect our grant money, we want to protect the people, our community that donates money. So if they happen to sell the house...
So they technically still on that soft mortgage.
Right, they're always...
It's effectively their second mortgage.
It's always there,
I got you.
But it's forgivable as long as they stay in the home.
I got you.
But if they happen to get out, say 10 years, and there's a calculation that they all have.
Okay.
It's actually in the deed.
That's how much of that is paid down?
Right. Yeah. If they got out in, say, 10 years, and the calculation, it may work out to where they still owe 75% of that second mortgage. So if the house sold, first mortgage gets paid off, the second mortgage, the profit that's left, we split, say 75-25.
Okay.
We get that money back, and that money goes to build another house.
I got you.
Because we just don't want families flipping homes.
Sure.
On us.
Absolutely.
And we want to
Has it always been like that?
Yes.
It's
yes.
always. So
yeah,
they they structurally put that in to protect themselves and
yeah, and like I say, we want to make sure we protect our grant money and the
absolutely.
people in our community that donate money. We want them to know, even if that house sells, their money is going to help another family.
Is most of your grant money federal?
No, it's
not?
no. Really very little of ours is federal. It's we do Kentucky Housing, which is not considered federal.
Okay.
And then we have another one. It's Federal Home Loan Bank.
Okay.
It's called Federal, but that's just the name of it. So Federal Home Loan Bank.
Out of Cincinnati?
Out of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And so one of the requirements of the banking industry is a portion of their profit has to go towards low-income housing. So there are banks, like in Elizabethtown, there's banks that are members of Federal Home Loan Bank out of Cincinnati. And this is all over the country. There's Federal Home Loan of wherever.
Yeah.
So they will contribute a portion of their profit to the low-income housing account that Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati has, and then I will apply for a grant through Federal Home Loan Bank in Cincinnati, and we'll get money typically. we'll get money from them to build houses.
Okay. Is this like typically every year?
It's usually every year. Sometimes we can do, based on the number of homes we build. A couple years ago, I did a larger grant to cover 2 years. That way I wasn't doing it every year.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of paperwork because, you know, being a bank, they get audited.
Yes.
So they want to make sure that everything I'm doing is correct and legal, obviously. And so a typical, once I get a house done, then I have to submit a grant request or disbursement request, and that disbursement may be 150 pages of documents. It's everything from the family's re-verifying the family's income.
You have good software?
Well, most of it are Excel spreadsheets and PDFs. That's just the way it is.
That's the nature of it. Yes.
But all the mortgage documents, I mean, they go through, you know, you kind of think, well, is this, I'm just sending 150 pages up there and they're just checking boxes. They don't do that. They will go through page by page by page. They literally look at, like a mortgage document, there's the first mortgage, the second mortgage, and then there's the promissory note, first and second, and there's the deed. So those 5 documents may be 60, 70 pages.
Gotcha.
And they will look at every page. They'll make sure the dollar amounts match up. They'll make sure the years match up.
Sure.
All of that. And any issue, they send it back to me. I have to get it corrected, and then the whole process starts all over again. But generally, you know, we've been doing it long enough that it's usually we send it in, they review it, and then within maybe 30 days, they'll send us a check.
Wow. Are their grants significant? I mean, we're talking 100K or more?
Well, total, yes.
Okay.
It's typically, so like for instance, the last house, you know, when I said 80,000, that's how much we have in the house.
Yes.
And their grant, it might be a $100,000 grant, but it's $25,000 per house.
I see. Okay.
So I will get 25 of the 80. So now I have to come up with the balance.
Yes.
I have to come up with 55,000.
Gotcha.
Which that's where community donations.
Okay.
We have some fundraisers, and then also the mortgage payments.
Sure.
So all of that money is, hopefully we raise enough to keep it going, and we've done pretty well to where you know, we do at times we build on faith. We you know, we'll have faith that money's coming in.
Okay.
But the majority of the time, with our fundraisers and different things that we're doing, you know, we have money there. You know, we really like to, if on the house build, of course, it's typically me and my foreman. Okay. And then volunteers.
And then volunteers.
And
the volunteers often churches,
there's
organizations,
churches,
just families,
and businesses.
Businesses.
I've got in Fort Knox. We've had some units at Fort Knox come and help us.
Gotcha.
But we do the entire. That's funny because I have some of the volunteers will call. Well, what are you all going to be doing? We don't know anything about building. Yeah. And I tell them we do everything except for plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and you have to pull permits for that.
Gotcha.
You have to be licensed.
Sure.
Everything else we do, and if you come to the job site today and we're hanging vinyl siding, that's what you're going to do.
Gotcha.
If we're hanging drywall, that's what you're going to do.
Gotcha.
If we're framing up the house, that's what you're going to do. And it's, I usually get, the other groups that we get is during the fall, winter, and spring, I get college groups. Okay. Normally all these college groups.
I see pictures occasionally of our college kiddos.
Right. They're typically all from up north. And one college, Boston College, they come every year.
Do they really?
They come for a week.
Down here?
Down here. They stay. We've got a place for them to stay. We provide them with lunch and dinner.
Wow.
They cover breakfast, but we provide them with lunch and dinner. And we had, a couple years ago, we had a group come in. We had the foundation done, and we had the floor joist and the subfloor done. We had 2 pallets of wood sitting on the ground. They get out of their van and they said, "Where's the house?" I said, "We're going to build it this week." And they jokingly said, "Well, we were talking about it on the way here. None of us have ever picked up a hammer before." And by the end of the week, we had the house framed up.
Oh my gosh.
And we were ready to set trusses by the end of the week. And they must have took thousands of pictures because, look what we did.
Yeah.
But
no selfies, of course.
No
selfies, of course. No.
Yeah.
No.
But the thing that I like about that is we are empowering those kids.
Yeah.
And these are kids that have never done anything like this before. They don't think they can do it. And I jokingly say we force them to do it.
Yeah.
But we do it. We teach them how to do it. We train them, and a lot of it for safety reasons.
Wow.
But by the end of the week, they're like, "Look what we did."
Gotcha.
And they go home and say, "We're going to build something." So it's good.
Scott, we probably have less than a minute or so.
Okay.
So how can people get involved, and anything else you want to get info?
Well, we really are looking for volunteers, both not only at our job site, but also at our restore.
Do you have a Facebook page?
We have Facebook. They can Google that. They can also Google our website. Our website's hardenhabitat.com.
Hardenhabitat.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And they can Google that. That'll show them Facebook as well. It'll show them our restore. The restore, we get people will donate product to us, different items, and furniture, appliances, whatever it may be, and we will sell that. It's actually open to the public.
Okay.
So it's 2816 Ring Road.
Yes.
Because that money helps us build homes as well.
Gotcha.
But we need volunteers there. We need volunteers at the job site. So love to have people show up. Like I say, no skills required, no tools required. We have all the tools at the job site needed. And the restore is typically helping load and unload.
How's that new building working out?
Working out great. It's, they say location, location, location.
Have you seen an increase?
Yes.
For real?
We have, every month that we've been there has been better sales-wise than our old place.
Oh, wow. Compared to a year ago, yeah.
It's always been, a good location for us. We're blessed to have it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Coach Scott, it's good to chat with you and to realize you're a rebel, not from Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
But we appreciate Professor Ron Hartley back there, who our choreographer, our writer, our producer, our cameraman, et cetera, et cetera. And Scott, I know you're pretty active in the community, so I see you out and about quite a bit.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you.
Try to be.
Yeah, they do. So keep raising that money and making it happen.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. We'll see y'all next time on HCEC-TV. I'll probably have Professor Scott, but I'll forget it all, and so he'll tell it to me again. All right. See you next time. Thank you.